Welcome back to The Big Show. As everybody knows, I'm a huge fan of Eclair, so that's why I'm 27 stone. And my favourite Eclair is Jenny Eclair. Don't you think that's clever?
Oh, you big charmer. That was actually slightly greasy and oily. You might have to start again. So I might have a small amount of sick coming up my windpipe. Okay. How lovely. What a great introduction. Hello, Alex.
Do you know, I've done loads of interviews in this dressing room. I was here just a week ago with Julian Clary, but never have I interviewed somebody.
Isn't it hot in here? I don't know. I'm actually not sure whether it's me or this dressing room. But actually, it's a bit like a tandoori oven, isn't it? We're in the bowels of the Nottingham Playhouse, and it is quite bizarre, actually, because it was obviously kitted out at some point in the 80s, and it's got a slight sort of whiff. There was an Italian design movement that came out in the early 80s, and I've been flogging my brains trying to remember what it was called. And it was very geometric, and there was lots of acid yellows and greys and electric blues. And it's like this sort of 80s time warp down here. But it's carpeted, and more cleverly, there's a bed in the wall, and you just pull down this cover and it's a bed. Oh, I like a dressing room with a bed, I really do. Because when we're on a long tour with the Grumpy Old Ladies, we have to make our nests where we can. And there have been dressing rooms over this past tour where technicians have sort of stumbled across middle-aged women sleeping in corners, like lady tramps. So it's actually quite nice to have a bona fide bed.
It's slightly worrying me, though, if it's been here since the 80s. Just imagine the story it could tell.
There is so much dribble. You know those sort of dreadful dribble patches? It's the sort of way you have those heavy stains. Oh, God, there's one. I've done one. I'm quite a pig, actually. So, yeah, the heavily dribble-stained beds. But Julian was here last week, was he? Julian Clary. I do remember doing a show once in Edinburgh, and it was all going quite well. And then two people just got up and left. I was doing a play. It was, I can't remember what it's called. I think it was called Mrs. Nosy Parker. So it wasn't the stand-up. And but I thought it was rather wonderful anyway. These two people got up, and I didn't say anything, but because I was in play, I was in my kind of space, you know. And but they rather loudly said, "But we thought we'd book for Julian Clary." So they got Julian Clary and Jenny Eclair mixed up, and so just walked out of my very clever play.
I mean, you're really not that similar, are you?
There are similarities, actually, between Julian and I. I think that vanity, and we've known each other for a very long time. I'm a big fan of Julian's, actually. He's capable of acts of great kindness. He once sent me a big bouquet of white flowers. And it's always really nice to see him. I saw him in Taboo at George, Boy George's musical. I think he's great. So, but our paths don't cross. I mean, that's what happens, because all those comics that started off in the sort of 80s used to bump into each other in rooms above pubs doing gigs, and then sort of you end up doing your own thing, and you don't see so much of your contemporaries.
I think the reason you probably get on, he's a grumpy old man. He was certainly grumpy before last week's show.
Was he? Well, there's a lot of travel, isn't there? And you tend to get a bit sort of, you start sort of like, well, we've got, obviously it's the Stanislavski method. We've got to get into our grumpy zone before we're able to do it on stage. So we have every excuse. But it does take it out of you a bit, you know, but I don't mind. I'm kind of quite... I'm a gigging girl, I've realised, I think. I do, you do all that thing where you think, oh, I'm so sorry for myself, everybody else is having a normal evening. But then when the show goes well, it's just really gratifying. You just go, oh, I'm in the best place here, taking a bow at the end. I like that.
What I like about you is you find yourself funny and enjoy being funny. You're not wrapped up in this negativity that so many comedians are. They love the applause, but then they come off and they're a manic depressive. You've never seen that kind of person.
Oh, I can do that. I can turn. No, I like to think I have a dark side. I think all comics do. I mean, it's ego, isn't it? And I think that most comics are hypercritical. So you're your own worst critic. So if you think you've sort of not done quite as well, there's a comedian's tendency to come off and beat yourself up, metaphorically. But this tour, I think, because there are three of us on stage, it's a shared kind of thing, If it goes wrong, I blame the others. No, it's. I think that secretly, I think I'm quite lucky, to be working, Well, if I say, again, punch me. It's not easy at the moment. It's not, busy out there. So to be doing a show that's getting bums on seats and selling out is a huge relief. if there's a sort of whining noise in the background, it's not me. It's there's some plumbing going on, and I think they're sound checking some stuff for the show upstairs as well. So
I think it's the sauna kicking in again, because I feel a blow of steam towards me. I don't know what it is down here.
It's stupidly hot. I'm sitting here in my bra and pants, but he's trying not to flinch. But no, it's best. You go from the sublime to the ridiculous. Last night in Leamington Spa, it was a bit chilly in the dressing room. The flesh pots of Great Britain. We go to the mall, but no, it's all fine.
What also seems interesting about your style of comedy, you're not one of these bitter and twisted, angry women.
Oh, I am. I just cover it well.
Do you know what I mean? You've got a warmth about it. I don't feel it's coming from a bitter and twisted, angry place within you.
No, I am bitter about some things. I do get really angry about some inequalities, I think, that are in this business. But it's no point taking that on stage. I mean, nobody really wants to hear you bleat on about the fact that, there are more middle-aged men doing travel programmes than women. That's not actually very appealing to... those are my secret sort of dark bête noirs, where I sort of, there was one week where, oh no, even I'm bored of me talking about it now. It isn't particularly easy being a woman aging in this business, but there is an audience out there, and they are people who buy theatre tickets. So it's not actually as horrible as, I think that television isn't particularly kind to women of a certain age, but then I've never had a television career, so I've never had to rely on that. I've never been dumped from television, so because television never took me on in the first place particularly. I've had my moments, but I've never had a regular job, so I've never lost a job really, apart from a radio job, which I'm still furious about. No, I've always been freelance,
But you're a very popular TV guest when we see you on things like Loose Women, and that would be a natural home for you if you wanted to do it. But is it too nice for you to do that programme day in, day out?
I would get sacked. I would say something unfortunate within 48 hours, and I'd just push it too far, because as soon as something gets safe and cosy, then I couldn't behave myself. I've always got a bit of sort of wee-wee poo-poo. It has to come out. I cannot believe the discipline of sofa people that don't, for example, if I was interviewing someone who was ridiculous, I can't believe it, how polite hosts remain, when you just I'd go, you know what, you're a mental basket case, you've got a real problem. And people don't really take to that. I think that I'm quite paranoid, and I think that when things aren't good, I can give myself quite a hard time. That's what we were saying before, that I think that if you can stand by the project that you're doing and you can defend it to the hilt, then you feel better about what you're doing. I think that there's a lot of work's gone into this show. I think a lot of very good work. I love working with Judith Holder. She's my co-writer on this. And I know it's a good body of work. I know that there's nothing lazy about it. I know we found a new idea, because I don't want anybody to go around thinking this is just another cheap cash-in. A lot of people think when they come to see Grumpy that it's going to be three women sitting in chairs. What are you expecting to see tonight?
That's exactly what I was expecting, like the TV show. You just ranting and raving about everything.
Be very interesting to see what you think after the show. Very interesting. Have you seen the set?
No.
No. Are you expecting a set?
Well, no, I was expecting 3 chairs and a back curtain.
Ah, right. Ah, no, I wouldn't be happy with that. I would think that was lazy. It depends how much of a budget you've got, but this has travelled and earned its keep, and I think that we are trying to sort of take people out of... It's quite a miserable place at the moment, so it is quite mad, in actual fact. The first show sold out several tours and went to Australia, and is in fact still playing in Iceland and Finland at the moment. So there's no real excuse not to spend a bit of money on it. It's not so much... I would like to spend more money on it, but, it is expensive touring. So... especially as ladies, we'd like a nice hotel. We do like a Malmaison or a Duvan. There are budget restrictions and that sort of thing. But Judith and I were very, very keen that it wasn't 3 chairs and a backcloth.
Because it's easy to do that, and I don't blame some people for doing it, but I don't think you're very long-lived when you do that. I see a lot of acts, and I see almost everything that comes to Nottingham, and there are shows that really should never be allowed out of a community centre that are packing big theatres, but they don't tend to come back the next year.
No, I mean, I think that there is quite a lot of proof in the pudding with this one, is in so much that when we have gone back to theatres, you know, the theatres that we've done before have sold out very quickly. And I think that this is a brand, and it's very, very important for us to keep the brand good and value for money, because otherwise, why would they come back? You know, they had a good time last time. They've got some faith in the thing, and you know, I would hate to. It's a bit like having a restaurant, isn't it? You know, somebody goes for a great meal and they go back to that place and think, I'm going to have the same again, but different. You know, different kind of, choose something with a different menu, and that's exactly what I want to do. I want to be that good. I can't cook to save my life, but I want to be. The show's got to be like a good restaurant where you come and you know it's going to be different, but it's going to be good.
So how easy is it to think of a new show each year? Because I'm sure there's stuff every day that annoys you, but is it as consistently funny as some of the stuff you thought of originally? That's why I'm pleased with this show. And it was really 4 years since the last one started. And it kind of wrote itself this year because there has been such a big wind of change. There's been the recession, so that's why this one's called Chin Up, Britain Grumpy's Fight Back. So the first half is, you know, dealing with the recession and that sort of thing, and then the second half is more about the grumpy sort of, you know, how we are as grumpy old women. But I think it's very important to have the first half as it is, because that's the big change. That's the big sort of, it's kind of like a call to arms. It's got a slightly military angle to it. There's some marching. There's also some show jumping and some skipping. So there's a lot going on, and I am pleased with it, because you know, that's why we didn't do another one for quite a long time, because you think, oh, I've mined that seam, but then all of a sudden it sort of cracks open further, and you think, oh no, there's more, you know, meat on this marrow, or you know. So it was time to do it. I mean, I think that it's the perfect time, because we're going to have an election, and I think after that there's going to be a sort of change of kind of mood in the country. So I think we've just got this in at the right time. It's going to be the Renaissance tour next year then, is it?
I think that there is talk of putting it out again in the spring. But I think that if there's an election and there's a big change, then it'll have to be rewritten, because this is very much of its time, this particular show. But I've got other things to do next year. I can't spend all my life on the road. I will go mad. And I think, you know, we're only sort of 2 weeks in to a quite long 56-date tour or something. So, you know, we're still relatively fresh. We'll be feral by the end of it, you know.
I said earlier that I find you warm, and I always have, but I've also found you quite acerbic. When did that happen? At what point did you wake up one morning and find that you were looking at things differently and not just following the mainstream line of, oh, everything's nice?
Well, nothing is nice, and most people are idiots, and that's how I wake up feeling, you know. So I don't know. I think that sort of, I wake up most days feeling quite optimistic, and then by lunchtime I'm quite cross. So I kind of get myself up into a bad mood. Well, I don't think I've ever been particularly satisfied. I think that, you know, life is one disappointment after another. No, that's not entirely true. But I think that, you know, life has got a habit of just when everything's going quite well, of tripping you up and you falling completely on your face. So, and a lot of people feel that as well. So really, you're just reflecting what people feel. And a lot of women, you know, in their 50s, late 40s, early 50s, and beyond, and some younger as well, feel that. They think, you know, this wasn't quite what I ordered, you know. So, but I think that there's a lot of comedy and cruelty.
Is there a line then where you go from being funny and sarcastic and acerbic to just being a bore that's whinging all the time?
Yes. And you've got to have funny bones to be able to do it. You can be incredibly rude if people know who you are and accept that what you're saying is funny. But if you do it without any sort of comic touch, then you're just an absolute arsehole that nobody wants to sort of have around. And I know I do sometimes teeter over into arsehole territory. So I do have to watch it. And my daughter, I've got a 20-year-old, and she did say to me recently, she said, Mum, people that don't know who you are might think that you are just a very rude woman. And I cried because I was embarrassed. And I knew she was right, you see, so I've gone a bit hot now. Yeah, I do know that I can be vile.
But it's the same with Julian. I mean, I know we keep talking about him through the interview, but he is exactly the same as you in that regard, that if you didn't know it was Julian, the things he says are just totally obscene.
Yes, but Phoebe was talking more about manners in sort of rudeness, because I do tend to sort of be rather imperious and sort of go in and start not banging my fist, but demanding. I heard myself doing it yesterday, and I thought, oh God, here I go again. But I can't bother with things being done wrongly. I think the thing is, some people can't stand my guts, and it's as simple as that. I mean, it's no point trying to gloss over it. The internet is a great reminder that there are a lot of people out there that would really rather I was drawing my last breath. And it's sometimes quite painful. And
do you really think that?
Yeah, I know that. I've looked at I Googled myself. It's that sort of thing you do after your third glass of red wine. And you think that never ever do this again. And then again, one day you have another third glass of red wine, you find yourself in your study going, oh God, they really hate me. I think that there's some very odd stuff. I mean, I did a Radio 4 series this week, and one woman complained on the website about the acoustics. She said that I had too much compression on my voice, and had I swallowed the microphone, or did I insist on being in front of everybody else in the cast in the edit? And I thought, what kind of maniac would I be to insist in being in front of everybody else? How bizarrely mental would I have to be?
But do you think she really cares? You see, in my experience of complaints, and I've had a lot of them as well, it's normally people with too much time on their hands that are just using you for that moment as a reason to vent their spleen and frustration at the world. They don't actually really care or really hate you.
Oh, some of them do. Oh, yes, they do. Because I really hate some people, so if I'm allowed to hate some people, other people are allowed to hate me.
But I've normally found in the past the people who really hate me don't listen to me, don't write to me. I can't believe anybody who hated me that much would waste time writing.
That's true, but I think some people get off on it. I don't know whether these people are actually aware that you are sitting in a domestic capacity now and again, reading these things, reeling back, going, oh gosh. But it is an enormous graffiti board, isn't it, in the sky, the internet? I mean, it's worse than finding something scribbled on a toilet wall. It's there forever, including reviews, good ones, bad ones. For some reason, that's another, the comics self-abusive psyche will often, go back to the dreadful reviews, and those are the ones that echo in your head rather than the good ones.
Isn't that part of your paycheck now, though? That if you take the check and you do the job, then everybody has the right to write about you?
Yes, it is. It is, but some people don't know what they're talking about.
No. It's okay as long as they're saying nice things.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And I some criticism I will take on the chin, because I think that I did a stand-up tour a couple of years ago, and I went back before I was ready, and I was terribly, terribly rusty. And for the first 2 weeks, I was not match fit. I shouldn't have been asking people for money, and that is something that I really regret, that I wasn't able to spend more time playing smaller clubs. I was put out on a sort of big tour, and I was out of my depth for a couple of weeks.
So did you give the people the money back?
No. Nope. No, I didn't. I was never that bad. I mean, it wasn't like, it wasn't. But I know that you know yourself difference between a B+ and a B-.
It seems to me you have a far more negative opinion of yourself than everybody else, because I'm sure they still gave you a round of applause at the end of the night and went out smiling.
Yes, but a round of applause isn't. I would rather have a standing ovation. No. There's you set yourself standards, and if you haven't reached them, you'd be an idiot to realise that there are certain. I know when a gig is flying, and I know when a gig is flying by the seat of its pants.
But how many times have you actually been in a theatre when you've been moved to the point to actually want to stand up? There aren't that many amazing performances, are there?
Quite recently, I saw Mark Rylance in Jerusalem at the Royal Court, and I was happy to stand at the end of that. But unfortunately, in America, I was in New York quite recently, and they stand up as a matter of course. And we went to see Hair, which was, it was interesting because I'd never seen it the first time around. And it was bog standard, and they were all giving it a standing ovation. And my daughter and I refused to stand up. We clapped enthusiastically. And my partner, who's got a very low threshold of embarrassment, stood. But we refused until the cast came off the stage and swarmed like bees throughout the auditorium, and they were gyrating in our faces, and I was absolutely mortified. I thought that was one of the worst things that a cast could do, to insist everybody is up and dancing in the aisles. That really makes me want to vomit.
All right, let's do some business for you. Have you got a website that we can promote? Because, of course, the show's on tour, of course, Grumpy Old Women. It's the second one, the big one, going around everywhere. And then what are you up to? What can we promote for you?
Well, this, grumpyoldwomenlive.com, which is a fabulous website. It's got merchandise and everything. Come along, buy a tea towel.
Are there any Jenny Eclair dolls or anything I can buy?
There are no Jenny Eclair dolls, but there are, as I say, we do have mugs and tea towels and aprons.
Does anybody actually buy those in a credit crunch?
Weirdly, the tea towels are very good value. You get two for £6. There's also a Grumpy Old Woman bag, which is only £3.99. That's good value. I think the t-shirts are a bit expensive, but don't say I said that. The programme is a bit expensive. I don't want anything to be expensive, but I'm not in charge of the profit margins. But people aren't buying it as much as they should. But it's really full of stupid articles and things that are really quite funny. So it's not just a sort of cast photo rip-off thing. Judith and I we are grumpy old women of a certain age. We are our audience, so we don't want them to be ripped off. That's not in the psyche of the show or us. So, what else have we got? I've got a book coming out next year, but I've got to write that. So,
what about let you go?
Yeah, better get on.
Thank you for allowing me on your bed.
You've been sitting in our chair. I think we should know. You're not on the dribble bed. You're not on the dribble bed. You've been very cautious.
It's been lovely meeting you. I think you're lovely, and you're gorgeous, and you're funny, and you're everything I like. You've got great spirit. And don't be so down on yourself, because I think people think you're really funny and lovable and warm. I don't know whether you realise that.
Well, sometimes they do. I do know that I've always got my mother's voice in my head, which is, nobody's that interested. It's very nice, and it's lovely to see people coming back to see shows and all that kind of thing. And I am grateful for that, and because I'm grateful for that, I'm making sure they are getting a brand new show.
Thanks, Jenny.
Pleasure.